What's going on, guys? JPP Duel here. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. And for today's matchup, we have an Adventures Pranks versus a Despia with me as the prankster going first. Now, in my current hand, you will see a card that you normally don't see in my deck list. Yes, it is the Nemesis Corridor right there. Now, I am playing a post-ban list deck list where in this certain scenario, we only run one copy of Meowmoo and I run one copy of Crossout. So we're doing different deck lists building, different theory crafting as to what engine we could add to the pranks for the post-ban to make it even better than it already is. Now granted, the pranks will probably end up staying at tier 1 because we still have access to the adventure engine. I'm not saying it will not be that, but I wanted to take it a step further and make my Meowmoo recyclable over and over and over. Now, in specific situations, your opponent will banish your cards, so I wanted to keep recycling my cards as well, aside from Meowmoo itself. So what I ended up doing was that, as you guys know, I do not run the DPE pack in my Prankets deck list at all whatsoever. So I had enough space to add in the Nemesis pack, and what I did was add 2 Nemesis Corridor and 2 Nemesis Flag. Nemesis Flag will search you for your Corridor, and then Corridor you can use to go into your recycling your Meowmoo, or you can go from Corridor to the Colossus that we now run in our extra deck. And you guys will see some other cards that I do run in my extra deck, which are the Hida, the Fire Charmer Ablaze, and Celine. Now the reason for the Hida is that what Hida does is it becomes a semi-search for your flag. If this card is destroyed through battle or your opponent's card effects, it acts as a searcher for Lampsies or your Nemesis Flag. Nemesis Flag will search you for your Corridor. The reason to run Hida over Win, because Win does search you for your Corridor instantly, is because your Prankets token that you get off of your Prankets pranks is a fire type token. So your token plus any other card on the field can easily translate into a Hida, and if your opponent has Ash Blossom in their graveyard, you could yoink that Ash Blossom, go into Celine, and if you have a Water Enchantress in the graveyard or an Effect Veiler in the graveyard or in your hand, you could special it out on the field in face of defense. That becomes your access code OTK right then and there. So this way you have 2 separate lines you can use to go into your access code. So that's the reason why I'm running these cards right now. I mean, I've had a bunch of success with this build. I believe I went on like 7 or 8 games win streak in my ranked matches. So far I have played around 20-ish games with this deck itself, and my record in Diamond 1, by the way. And I don't mean my opponent insta-scooping. We did get some insta-scoops, but we still managed to grind out some games. I believe I'm at currently 14 wins to 6 losses with this deck list, so not too bad whatsoever. So we do our full combo. Sadly, I did not have a monster in my hand to banish with my Roxy's effect. Usually if you have a monster you can banish with Roxy's. If you draw into Corridor in your starting hand, you could activate Corridor, recycle the monster, and that will be a Colossus lock on the field as well. So potentially you could have Butler combo plus Colossus lock, and your full board, if you get the full cards, you have 2 Omni Negates, 1 with the Adventure, 1 with Totally Awesome, Butler on your opponent's turn, and a card lock, which is insane. And sometimes just the card lock from the Colossus becomes an FTK as well. If your opponent cannot get rid of it and they need to draw cards to go into combo, it's an FTK. So we do all that, I end my turn. Opponent's draw phase as usual. We activate Bow Wow Bark, get the cards we need for the Butler combo into our hand. On main phase, my opponent normals out Tragedy, goes into Relinquished Anima. Now, this is where the problem arises. What you guys should do, you guys should learn from this. Never ever keep your cards in the link column because your opponent can yoink them with the Relinquished Anima. Relinquish has been catching popularity as of lately, so try to put your cards in the columns where there is no extra monster zone. So that way your opponent cannot yoink your cards with the Relinquished Anima. This play right here is what impacted the game so much, and it possibly allowed my opponent to make a comeback. Because once we put the Butler on the field, he could have so many ways to negate our Butler. He could Imperm us, Forbidden Droplet us, he could Dark Ruler no more us, or since this guy is playing Despia, he could Super Poly us and take away our Butler. And that is exactly what will end up happening. Now over here, I do a greedy play. I put my Butler in the extra monster zone. I know I should not have. I'm making a greedy play because I want to get all 3 of my graveyard activations and put 3 monsters on the field. That's the only reason I put the Butler in the extra monster zone. And this Super Poly is absolutely ridiculous, okay? Super Poly says it's going to take away the cards, right? And obviously, with the Super Poly, this guy will go into Mud Dragon. The Mud Dragon states that it requires 2 cards with the same attribute but different types. So 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types. That means the Butler being our wind attribute, Griffin being our wind attribute, but they are different types. One is Winged Beast, one is a Thunder. So it takes away our Omni as well as our Field Pop, which is ridiculous. So he does that, we get our Butler's Floating Effect activation from the graveyard, we put our copy of Doodle-Doo on the field. Now we know he's going to be killing that card on the field anyways. No matter what card we put on the field, he is going to go into battle phase, kill it off. So I thought, why not put the Doodle-Doo on the field? He gets the Chain activation, Chain gets him the Patchwork, he's going to activate Patchwork, get a Chain plus a Poly in his hand. And with this Poly, he will use it and end up going into a Chimera. So he uses the cards, uses the Anima on the field, plus I believe a Dramaturge from his hand, plus the Chain in his hand, goes into the Chimera. The Chimera will only get 1 pop, I believe. Sorry, it gets 2 pops. So he draws 2 cards, he does get 2 pop, I believe he pops 1 card. I don't know if he chose any of my other cards to pop on the field with the Prankest cards, but I believe it was 1 pop at this point. So he gets the Dramaturge on the field as well, and then gets the Tragedy's activation as well. Tragedy searches him for the Aluber, but since he already normaled out the Tragedy in the beginning, that means he cannot normal out the Aluber. He goes into battle phase, kills off my cards, only leaves me with Dropsies. Goes into main phase 2, goes into Verte Anaconda, and Verte will put him a DPE on the field. So right here we have DPE coming up. So I believe this guy was playing a post-ban list deck list as well, because he was not running the Celestial. He was running Denier plus Malicious as his cards to go into DPE. So right now everybody is experimenting with the post-ban list in ranked matches. DPE pops my token, we're okay with that. He sets down a card, ends his turn. Now on my main phase, I had to do something, really drastic to play around all the cards he had on the field. If I normal out a card, DPE will pop it. I cannot go into my combo because, as I said before, we're running the post-ban list deck list. That means we only have 1 Meowmoo, and our 1 Meowmoo, our combo, going into our combo card is in the graveyard at this point. Did not have a way to recycle it. So we're pretty screwed at this point. So what I do is I activate Pranks first to try to bait out his DPE pop. Does not take it. Then I activate the Harpies. And on stream I said this, when I activated the Harpies, how good would it be if the face down card in his back row is a Call by the Grave? And lo and behold, what do you know? It turned out to be a Call by the Grave, and he Called by the Grave my Dropsies. I was so happy about this, because once this goes through, that means we get the Nemesis activation, we can put the Colossus on the field instantly. He still does not pop my Nemesis, that means we have our Colossus on the field. We get the Colossus. Now at this point I activate my Pranks and get a token. I did not go into Hida. For the Hida thing to work, again we need Enchantress or an Effect Dealer in the graveyard being a Spellcatcher monsters to go into access code OTK. So I could have gone into Hida to yoink a Ash Blossom if he had Ash in his graveyard. Any fire type monster you can yoink with the Hida. Sadly, he did not have any fire type monsters. He only had water plus dark, so that is out of our options. So the reason why I don't normal out Lamseys is because if I normal out Lamseys again, he's going to use his DPE pop the Lamseys, means I cannot go into my combo since my Dropsies is negated because of Call by the Grave. So that's why I decided to go into my token, see if he reacts to this. Did not react to it, so we go into our Doodle Doo. I'm going to be activating Doodle Doo, searching me for a Prank Kids place. And in this specific scenario, you guys saw how I chained my cards. I chain link 1 my Doodle Doo, chain link 2 my Dropsies, because I know my Dropsies is already negated, so why not use it as a chain block card in case our opponent has Ash Blossom. So we do that. With this, we search for a Prank Kids place. I'm going to tribute Doodle Doo since it's not popping my Doodle Doo, target the Pandemonium plus Fancies, the card I have not activated the effect of in the graveyard, add them to my hand. With this Prank Kids place, we search for Roxy's and use Pandemonium to go into Rocket Ride. That way, we get our graveyard activations, put cards on the field. With this, we go into Roxy's and we chain block with our Prank Kids place as well, in case, again, my opponent had Ash Blossom. Roxy's banished the Dark Ruler, hoping to draw into something more useful. Drew into Maxi, okay, not that great of a draw, but whatever. And with the Fancies, I had to discard a card, and sadly, the only card I could discard was a Dropsies, and that was my last Prank Kids monster I could special summon. So we could not special summon from there, so that means we cannot go into a combo once he pops our Rocket Ride, which my opponent ends up doing. So I just end my turn, recycle my cards with pranks, hoping that my Maxi and Ash get me enough things to stop my opponent from going into his combo. The Maxi resolves, DP coming in the field, that means we draw a card. He goes into Polymerization, goes into the Quiritis. Now this Quiritis cannot make our Colossus go to 0 attack because it's a level 8 or higher, right? So that Quiritis is pretty much useless. Then he goes into Battle Phase. Tries to kill the Colossus with the Chimera. Obviously, we cannot let that happen. We banish the Corridor. But with this, now he's going to try to pop it with DPE. Again, cannot let it happen. We banish our Doodle Doo. His DPE gets destroyed, and right here, I don't know if you guys understand, my opponent DC'd. I mean, he took his time and then decided to rage quit afterwards. But let me give you guys a brief rundown as to why I would have won on my next turn. I would have called by the grave his DPE, and I would have used the right to go into my token and then normal out the Ash. That means we get Predaplant through our Link Spider, and that would put Butler on the field, and that would be game over for my opponent. Once my Butler comes on field, it is pretty much game over from there. We could use our Butler, get our card boosted up, and beat over every single one of his cards he puts on the field, and we will pop his cards on his turn as well. So that would have been pretty much game over from there. But my opponent decided to make it easy for me. He just ends up rage quitting. You guys will see it's a connection failure. That's going to be the end of today's game, guys. If you guys do enjoy this kind of videos, please consider hitting the like button, subbing to my channel for more daily prank and video uploads. And if you guys are interested in the live version of all of this, I do live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/jpbduel. Link along with my schedule and a link to my Discord will be in the video description itself for you guys to check out. This is JPBDuel signing off for today. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace!